Welcome to DIY RV and Home Camper's Life. My name's Greg. Today, out in the trailer, freezing our butts off while we're trying to figure out what's wrong with the furnace. Stick around. Alright, so here is the symptom. The other day I came in, fired up the furnace. Fired up, started running just fine. Everything was heating. About 5 minutes later, the gas valve shut off and it did not continue to heat. It was still trying to run, it was still trying to light, but the gas valve shut off, so I had no gas to the furnace. Tried it a couple times, just kind of looking at different things, checking the vents outside. Of course, I have bug screens on my vents. Here's a link to me putting those on. So I was sure that I didn't have any obstructions in there, but you never know. So I checked, didn't see anything. Came inside, checked, didn't see anything. Took the cover off of the furnace on the inside, looked in there with the flashlight, didn't see anything. Left the furnace cover off, went over, fired it back up so I can take a look and I could see the actual flame inside the furnace through the peephole, and lo and behold, it kept running. And I thought, well, okay, something was a fluke. So I put the cover back on, fired up the furnace. 5 minutes later, gas valve shuts off and won't reignite, but it is trying to ignite. That is one of the symptoms, the things that we need to remember, is that it is trying to ignite. So took the cover back off, was running like a champ. Put the cover back on, shuts off. It would quit in about 5 minutes. So I took my multimeter, and let me swing it around and kind of start showing you what I was doing. So here is the window that I was watching. Keep an eye on the gas, making sure that the furnace was running. When that would shut off, I could see the igniter trying to ignite, so I knew that was working. And with the igniter trying to ignite, that tells me that this high limit switch was working. And actually, towards the back, let me see, just take this right back there. If you can see, is my high limit, or excuse me, my sail switch. Now I know both of those are working because the igniter board is trying to reignite. Also, I'd gone with my multimeter here and tested and looked for power on both sides of the high limit switch. That tells me that I'm getting power through the sail switch to the limit switch, this to the board. I then, when it was in fault mode where it was not giving me power to the, or excuse me, when I was not getting gas through my gas valves, I checked for power. I did not have power there. So here's what we know. We know that the thermostat works. We know that the sail switch and the high limit switch are working because we're getting voltage through it, both of them, even after we have the anomaly of the furnace shutting off. The only thing that is after those two switches is the board. Now, the board does multiple things. It fires off the igniter, it opens and closes gas valves. So there's components on there, and I don't know exactly why or what possibly has a problem, because that's the last bit in this. I hate being a parts changer. There is nothing in documentation that I've found that says do step A, B, C, but this is what I've seen, and this is what I'm figuring out on this. There's nothing else that could be the issue. So I am opting right now to go ahead and replace the control board. And I'm going to do that with a Dinosaur board. But first I got to pull the unit out, see how it's set up, how the wires are set up on the board. And that'll tell me which Dinosaur board I need to get. So, for me it was fairly easy to take off. I'm going to show you right now. Like I said, 2 screws that I had to take off here, and I'll have to find the video for you. It'll be a link just in the top of the screen to where I got to keep this in place by using silicone on my screws. Now, don't worry, it's high temperature silicone, and you can see where it comes loose and scratches up the beautiful woodwork that we've got in here. I'm being sarcastic, but I still love the trailer. Next, there was just 2 screws right here and here Now when I go to put those back in, I've got to put like a toothpick in there, because when they put them in, they ran them in so hard that they stripped them out and they're just sitting there floating around. Okay, I'm off that high horse. Next, what I got to do is go ahead and remove the gas line, and then I can just pull this unit out. Now when I go to put it back in, I'm going to have to take the vent and the intake off the outside of the trailer, put the furnace back in, and then put those back on. I've already had the furnace out once looking at it, so all the screws and everything are off on that. We'll deal with that later. I've got new silicone for right here to silicone the top side of it, and then I've got butyl tape for to act as the water seal. So anyways, let's see if I can just set you up right here, get the light on, get my crescent wrench. Now make sure your propane is off. I did that before I walked in here. You might still get a slight spit of propane just because it's still on the line. If you are not comfortable doing any of this, please contact a repairman. Okay, now, like I said, I've already had this off, so I know I can get that back in place. Just going to move it out of the way a little bit. Now everything's free. I've taken the 2 screws out that were holding it. That off. Let's move some stuff out of the way. And we just kind of pull. Now, your furnace might be installed a little bit differently, so just be aware of that. Now, unfortunately, they didn't use a connector. They just crimped the wires together for the furnace. So I always love it when they do that, because that means we're going to have to cut them to do any real work on it. I'm just trying to get in to see what board I have right now. There's okay, so hopefully you can see. I'm going to try to bring in here those wires that I am touching. Let's see, can I get you? Okay, so those wires that I'm touching right there, one's a power, one's for the fan. So that tells me which board I need from Dinosaur. So now I can get the number, get a hold of my local RV shop, see if they have it. If not, I know I can get it online. So let me get that going. I'll come back with you and we'll work on getting this installed. So be right back. And we're back. It's been a couple days. Went ahead and I got the control board in that I ordered, which is the Dinosaur Fan 50 Plus. First thing I need to do is go ahead and disconnect the wires. Now they did went ahead and just crimped with connectors. I'm going to go ahead and put some spade connectors in to where if I ever do need to service the furnace again, I can just unplug those and make it a little bit easier on me. First thing I got to do is make sure I get the power 12 volt supply to this disconnected. So let me find my cover for the distribution panel. Let's bring it over here. Yes, I got to take it off because I'm still working on my RV electrical system upgrade. Let's turn the light on and we're going to look, and furnace is number 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6 should be this one right here. So let's go ahead and pull that. We'll set, got a little red light there that indicates that basically no fuse is there or the fuse is blown. So I'm going to set it right there. I'm going to come back over here and I'll have to set you up because I want to probe in back and make sure I got no power to this. So let me set you up. So we'll just wrap those. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. Get that over to DC. Come in, and we are going to back probe into that. Yellow is going to be the ground, so we're going to back probe into that. And I am showing no voltage at all. Let's do it again. So we are dead. So that means that we can go ahead and cut the wires. And again, like I say, I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut right about here. Now the reason I cut the wires in the middle here is so that I can just match them up and be able to reconnect them and not cross any wires up. I will be using, again, my spade connectors to hook them up. That way it is serviceable again in the future without having to do this, cut them. Now I've got this disconnected, I can take it over, set it on the counter, and go ahead and get it apart. Nice thing is there's just two screws. This screw, and this whole unit will slide out and make it accessible to work on the unit. Alright, it's a little difficult to see, but right here I've got a screw that I need to take out, remove, and then I've got one right here to remove, and that's it. Be able to pull the burner assembly and everything out. So let me get that screw there, and just slides right on out. Now that we've got the furnace removed from the cover, we can take a look at it a little bit closer. Right here is a sail switch for this particular model. As you can see it right there. So these two screws right here would be removed, and then there's two screws right there to replace that, if that ever was the issue. Right here is that limit switch. Now that limit switch can be replaced with the unit in place. It's not too difficult. This is our gas valve. Right here is the board that we are going to be replacing. We've got our blower motor down here. So I mean, everything looks really good, really nice. Again, we're looking inside the tubes, make sure we don't see anything. This is your switch to turn the unit on and off at the unit itself. So let's go ahead and get you set up again. I'm going to go ahead and take the board off and put the new one on. Alright, so real quick, what are we going to get when we buy the Fan 50 Plus Dinosaur board? You are going to get a pair of wires, because this board is compatible with several different models, backwards compatibility to older systems. So it does have a pair of wires to help you convert your system to work with this board, or better yet, this board work with your system. You'll have a warranty card along with instructions that tell you what you need to do and how to install it. Easy and simple. We're just going to disconnect. We've got our power. Set that aside. We've got our blower. Put that one there. This is our spark wire. We'll get that out of the way. Right here is our connector for the rest of the system. That comes up. Just get that out of the way. Now, let's just unscrew the board. Board was just held on with two screws. There it is. Looks like this board is just a little bit bigger, so gonna have to possibly drill a hole for that to fit. Let's go ahead and get it in place though. And all right, like I said, I'm gonna have to go ahead and drill a hole so I can mount the board properly. I've already ran the old board, or put the new board on, put the screw in, and kind of ran it back and forth, and I can see that there's a little hole, or excuse me, on this foot pad where the board rested. There is an upper hole and a lower hole. The lower hole is just a dimple, so I'm just going to drill right there, and then that should be able to allow me to go ahead and secure that in place. Okay, what I did there is I just went ahead and checked to make sure that that was the right size hole and that I didn't need to increase the size of it. That way I didn't accidentally put too large of a hole in right off the bat. So, again, for you to be able to see, let me get that board out of the way. I was going to try to put the wrong board in. Alright, let's set that back down. Got the new board. We got the screws. Let's go ahead and put this back in. You still see? There's one. Get the second one in place. That one in nice. Make sure that one's tight. There we go. Let's go ahead and plug this in. That's plugged in. Now we have a blower connection right there. Power. Ah! This I like. I didn't catch this, but we got two different size spades here, and the red one is actually just going straight back to the blower motor. That one goes to the blower terminal. The power one coming in, I tried to put it onto that top one and it wouldn't fit. That's because it fits on the bottom one. They helped make it foolproof there. That was nice. I almost made an accident. There we go. So we got those two on. We've got that on. The last thing we got to do is hook up our igniter wire. And we've got that on. Let's put it back in the hole. First of all, we got to put it back in its housing. We'll put those two screws back on. And we're going to stick it back in the hole and we're going to see if we got this fixed. So I'm not going to show you putting this back into this. I'm going to go turn the camera off. I'll bring you back when I'm ready to shove it in the hole. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to put some spade connectors, male and female, on the wire so that if we ever have to service it again, we can just disconnect them. That's not going anywhere. So now it's time to go over, put these on to the wires down below, get this unit put in, and we're going to test it out, and hopefully that was the issue. Alright, so as you notice, every time I went ahead and crimped those, I'm grabbing and I'm pulling. I want to make sure that that's not going to pull apart. Now that I'm sure that that's not going to happen, let's get this furnace back in place. As you can see, I took the vent off from the outside, got that out of the way, so when I put it in, I'm not going to have to fight that. Got our furnace back here. Let's go ahead and get our wires hooked up. Boom, wires are hooked up. All colors are matching, everything like that. Gonna do one trick. This tube is kind of a pain to get pulled back in once it's in place, so I'm gonna grab something real quick. Okay, so the final thing I want to do before I slide this in is I want to actually take this string right here. I'm going to run it through the hole where the propane line goes into. Then I'm going to come over and just kind of wrap it around that. That way, when I do get ready to put it together, I can pull on that and hopefully help pull it in closer to where I can work, because it is pretty tight there. I'll show you as I get further. We'll just make sure our wires don't get pinched as we push it in. Get that hooked up, then we can get on with testing, making sure we got this thing fixed. Okay, folks, I'm going to have to move the camera to get this in. This is, as you can see, pretty tight. It's going to take some while, some finagling, but I'll bring you back once I get it put in place. So I said I was going to bring you back when I got it hooked up. Well, about 30 seconds after I got the camera turned off and started on it, I just kind of pulled on the string right here and it actually pulled in place. I was able to get that started. So get that started. We're going to go ahead and tighten it up. We can turn the propane back on and check for bubbles, see if we got any leaks, and address that. Once we're good with that, then we'll go ahead and put the fuse back in and try it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this tightened up, and I'll get some soap and I'll be right back. So I've got it tightened up. I went ahead and turned the propane on. And I just took some dish soap and just a little bit of water, made it really heavy on the soap side. And I'm going to go ahead and just pick and rub it all over there. And I know there's some bubbles right there right now, but what I am looking for is new bubbles. I'm looking for it to bubble up. Pop some of those bubbles. I'm looking for anything that looks like get bubbling away, there being a leak. You don't need to put any dope or Teflon tape or anything like that on these. This is a compression fitting. If you do have a fitting that you do need to put some Teflon tape on or anything like that, you need to use appropriate Teflon tape that is designed for working with propane and or the right pipe dope for it. As we see, I'm going to bring it in closer. I'm not seeing any additional bubbles. Everything's just kind of sitting there. I say that that is good. So what we are going to do is we're going to swing back around. We're going to go ahead and plug back in number 6. We're hearing some beeping and stuff like that. Oh, it says it's 44 in here. Let's go ahead and hit the on button. It's set for 63. It's just kicked. Let's see if she fires up. Now she was running just fine like this. So if she does fire off and start running, then I'm going to go ahead and put the cover back on. And we'll see what's going on. I've already put the vent tubes on the outside back on. We're seeing spark. We had a little bit of flame. Purging out the air out of the pipes. So I'm going to go ahead and wait a couple seconds and then try to reignite. Okay, we've got ignition. She's a burning. So I'm going to go ahead and put the cover back on. And you remember we were at 44 degrees. Let's see, what time is it? Clock says 12:41. Okay, there it is. So we're gonna let it run for a while, see what happens. I'll bring you back either way, let you know if we got it fixed or not. All right, survey says 53 degrees and 104 on the clock. We went up 9 degrees in that amount of time, and that was with the vent on, the cover on, vents in place, everything done. Ran without a hitch, ran like a champ. Control board was the issue. Little diagnostics, a little time following wiring diagrams, doing research, led me to decide to replace this. That's what it was. Hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did, please hit the like button, share, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, please think about subscribing to the channel. Till next time, you guys have a wonderful day.